If you're looking for a trusted and reliable source of news and information, check out my friends over at patriotpost.us. A link for them is in the description box, so when you go over there and subscribe, tell them that ABL sent you. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Donald Trump's statements relating to the mass shootings that happened in El Paso, Texas, where you had 20 people shot and killed, and Dayton, Ohio, where you had 9 shot and killed. And before I begin, I want to say rest in peace to those who passed away and prayers out to their families. But we got to talk about what Trump said in the brief statement, the media's reaction to it, regular people on Twitter and other places' reaction to it, and also what I think could be the agenda from the left and some on the right. Now, there were some things in Trump's statement I did not like, and there are some things I did like. Let's start with the negative first. What did I not like about what Trump said about the El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio shooting? The first thing was the red flag law. He was a proponent of that, or a proponent of at least starting the conversation. I'm not a fan of this because it can be abused. Now, what this law is, if you are a person that has been declared mentally unstable, the police may go into your home, take guns away from you, or detain you against your will in a mental institution or in jail, whatever the case may be. Now, obviously, this would have worked in the Parkland, Florida situation. The guy had been visited by the police several times. They knew he had mental problems, but they didn't do anything. Now, what could they actually have done? Did he commit a crime? Like, what was going on? In his case, that law would have made sense. I can't even deny that, because a lot of us are like, okay, why didn't you do anything? Probably because they couldn't do anything because the laws aren't there. However, in the same breath, I have to say that law can be abused. You can be falsely, and I know about that, you can be falsely accused of being mentally unstable or doing something in your house you're not really doing. The police come in there, they're taking your weapons, they're taking you away. It can most certainly be abused. So I'm not a fan of the law for that particular reason. If you're able to tell me that the law would not get abused at all, then okay, we got it. But I don't really see that happening, so I'm not a fan of that. He also brought up video games. He was saying, okay, a lot of these kids are brought up in violent environments where video games seem to be the focus. That's not exactly what he said, but I'm paraphrasing. Now, video games, in my opinion, can't be blamed. You know, I grew up on violent video games, you know, first-person shooters, you know, real bloody, Mortal Kombat type stuff. Now, never did I think, okay, I want to go do that in real life. You know, it's like, it's a game. It's just like playing football. On the outside, to those who don't appreciate football, they may see a violent and dangerous sport. But to us that are playing it, it's fun, it's competition, it's just a masculine thing to do. It's not like this big violent situation that'll make us go out here and do other violent acts, quote unquote violent acts. That's not how that works. We understand what is competition, what is a game, what is fantasy, and then what is reality. Those two things don't really intersect unless you are mentally ill, which is a serious problem. Now, let's go to the positive things, because Trump did mention mental illness, and that's great, because I think we all know that that's a problem. These mass shootings have a lot of things in common, but the main thing is the mental health of the individual. I won't place these guys' pictures on the screen before you, but I've seen them, and they all look similar, baby face, kind of dopey, glasses, you know, the kind of guy that might be outcast, the kind of guy that may have some personal demons. It is what it is. Okay, now, Trump also condemned white supremacy again, because the media has been in overdrive talking about white supremacists in chief. Trump is the reason why this happened, because he emboldened people. He's a white nationalist, and the guy in El Paso was a white nationalist, and all these shooters are white people. You know, it's all false. It's all false to drive a narrative of Trump being bad, orange man bad, and to further push impeachment proceedings. Okay, Democrats in the House are not quite unified on the whole impeachment thing. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they're not there. They're trying to put pressure on them. It's a political move. It's a political stunt that the mainstream media and the left and some on the right will hurt, but that's a different story. Some on the right are in collusion to have happened to get the president impeached or to diminish his popularity so he won't get elected again in 2020. It's very simple. Apparently the guy in El Paso had a manifesto online in which he exposed quote unquote white supremacist and white nationalist views. However, that manifesto has not been confirmed to be actually from him. Trump said it was from him out there when he was making this speech, but that may have been a mistake. He may have been told that it was authentic, but I heard this morning before he went out there that it's not been confirmed yet. So I don't know what's true, what's false. Let's just say the manifesto is true. In the manifesto that the media are trying to use to smear Trump, the guy said that he had been radicalized long before Trump came into office. And he also said that the media would try to blame Trump, but that'd be fake because I've been this way before he came in. He was talking about the Hispanic invasion of Texas, this, that, and the third. And he drove from Dallas or the Dallas area to El Paso. That's not close. Yes, they're both in Texas, but Texas is a big state. You're talking about a 10-hour drive. That's very far away. Think about driving from Virginia Beach to like Boston or something like that. It's far. But anyway, the shooter in Dayton, Ohio, had the opposite kind of points of view than the guy in El Paso. The Dayton person was super leftist, pro Elizabeth Warren. He did not like Kamala because she was a prosecutor, said she was a cop. So the white supremacist narrative is being pushed as if all the shootings that happen in America, and we'll get to that in a moment, are done by these type of people that just hate brown people. They want a white separate nation. But out of all the people that have been involved in mass shootings this year, I've not seen any be close to that except for the guy in El Paso. And we still don't know if the manifesto is true or false. But anyway, the mainstream media, they have an objective. And the objective is to push forward this idea of white supremacy, white nationalism. The numbers don't bear it out. Let's talk about mass shootings. The media wants to say, oh, they're all done by white supremacists. Are they really? They changed the definition of a mass shooting to be if 4 or more people are shot by one person at once. That's a mass shooting. Okay. There have been at least 300 of those, right around that, in 2019 so far. Now, once you look at the actual cases, you're not going to see a lot of white men. You're going to see some, but not that many. Okay. When you look at the actual numbers from the FBI, the real crime statistics, you're not going to see white men being the leaders in violent crime, at least not murder. Okay, you're going to see black men being right there. Now, I say that without pride. I'm just stating facts. Okay, the media will not cover this because it goes against their narrative. Do you know that black people are 13% of the U.S. population, but account for 48% of all the murder victims and 52% of all the murderers? So over half of all the murderers, almost half of all the murder victims, but only 13% of the population. How is that possible? I mean, you have a very high murder rate, a very high crime rate in the black community. So this whole thing about your racist white males being the face of domestic terrorism and gun violence, it doesn't make any sense. The objective is, like I said, a political one, to make Trump be the face of quote unquote white supremacy, orange man bad, to get him out of office and to prevent his reelection in 2020, and also to push forth gun regulation. They don't want to talk about gun regulation, gun confiscation, or anything like that when you got black on black violence, not even when it's a black person shooting people that are not black. May 31st in Virginia Beach this year, 2019, 13 people got shot in the workplace by a black man. Now, the mainstream media covered it for a while, 48 hours. And after that, it was done. It's been no more. You move on to the next thing. Okay, some people say, oh, well, it was 3 months ago, this, that, and the third. Well, how long ago was Charlottesville? Charlottesville happened in Virginia, and one person got killed. They talk about that every day because the narrative, like I said, it's about trying to push forward this idea of white supremacy and Donald Trump being the leader of it. But once you look at the facts, the real information about who's killing who, who's shooting who, who's doing all these quote unquote mass shootings, 4 victims or more, you're going to see a different reality than the 2 or 3 shootings that happened over the past 2 to 3 weeks. And that's pretty much all I got. What say you? Do you think that I'm correct that these mass shootings are being looked at as examples of white nationalism, white supremacy, white domestic terrorism to push forth a certain political point of view, to get Trump out of office, to push forth gun control. I mean, if I'm right about that, let me know in the comments below. If I'm wrong about that, let me know in the comments below. And why, oh why, do we not see more black shooter stories in the mainstream media as a mass shooting? You had Gilroy, that happened. I think 3 people were killed, 12 were injured, right around that. But the day before or the day after, right around that same time, you had a shooting in Brooklyn where everybody that got shot was black, and we assumed the suspects were black because they're white, you know about it. But anyway, you had 1 person killed, 12 others injured. Why has that not been in the news at all? I've not heard about that at all, but Gilroy seems to be a lot going on in the news. Same thing with El Paso, same thing with Dayton. Yes, there are a lot of victims that happen in El Paso and Dayton, but what about Virginia Beach? 13 people killed. Why has that not been like the face of all the mass shootings? Is it because there's not a narrative to push? I can't call it. Maybe I can, but whatever your comments are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.